Banks were never supposed to hold this much power. Yet every morning, billions of people wake up, go to work, earn money, and place their trust into institutions they will never truly see. Behind polished glass buildings and reassuring logos lies a system so powerful that a single mistake can shake entire nations. And the most shocking part? The biggest threat to a bank is often not a robbery, a hacker, or a financial crisis. Sometimes the biggest threat is confidence itself. Imagine a cold morning hundreds of years ago. A merchant arrives at a crowded marketplace carrying a heavy bag of gold coins. Every step feels dangerous. Thieves watch from shadows. Roads are unsafe. Trust is rare. The merchant wants to trade goods across cities, but carrying gold is like carrying a target on his back. Then someone offers a solution: a small building, a locked room, a promise. Leave your gold here, they say. We'll keep it safe. At first, it sounds simple. The merchant hands over his gold and receives a piece of paper proving ownership. For the first time, money becomes lighter than metal. Nobody realizes it yet, but a revolution has begun. Because that small piece of paper will eventually become more valuable than the gold itself. And that changes everything. As years pass, more merchants arrive, more gold enters the vaults, more paper receipts circulate through towns and cities. People begin trading the receipts instead of the gold. It feels easier, safer, smarter. The system works so well that something strange starts happening. Most people never come back to collect their gold. The receipts keep moving from hand to hand while the gold remains untouched inside the vault. And that's when a dangerous idea enters the room. A banker looks around and notices something. Thousands of gold coins sit quietly underground. Nobody is asking for them. Nobody is touching them. Nobody is even looking at them. What happened next would change the course of financial history forever. The banker starts lending some of that gold to other merchants. The borrowers pay interest. Profits begin flowing. The vault owner becomes wealthier, then wealthier still. Soon, every banker is doing the same thing. The money sleeping inside vaults suddenly starts working. Businesses grow. Ships sail across oceans. Factories emerge. Cities expand. The world experiences an explosion of economic activity. It feels like magic. But hidden beneath the success is a terrifying secret. The bank no longer possesses all the money it promises to customers. It only has enough to satisfy normal withdrawals. As long as people trust the system, everything works perfectly. But trust can be fragile. And one day, that weakness would be exposed. For decades, banks become symbols of stability. Massive stone buildings rise above city streets, marble floors, steel vaults, elegant offices. The architecture itself sends a message: your money is safe, your future is secure. Confidence becomes the bank's most valuable asset, more valuable than gold, more valuable than cash, more valuable than anything locked behind vault doors. Because banking is not really built on money, it's built on belief. And belief can disappear overnight. In prosperous times, nobody questions the system. Families buy homes, businesses borrow money, investors chase opportunity. Everyone feels rich, everyone feels confident, everyone assumes tomorrow will look like today. But history has a habit of punishing certainty, and warning signs often appear long before disaster arrives. The problem is that success creates blindness. When profits rise year after year, caution starts looking unnecessary. Risk feels smaller, greed feels reasonable, ambition becomes unstoppable. Bank executives begin competing against one another. Each wants faster growth, higher returns, bigger bonuses, more market share. The pressure never stops, and pressure changes people. A loan that once looked dangerous suddenly appears attractive. A risky investment starts looking acceptable. An impossible target becomes tomorrow's expectation. The system keeps expanding. More loans, more debt, more confidence, more risk. And almost nobody notices the storm gathering in the distance. Then something unexpected happens. Housing prices begin rising, then rising faster, then rising even faster. People become convinced prices can never fall. Homeowners celebrate, investors celebrate, banks celebrate. Everyone appears to be winning. A family buys a house believing its value will double. An investor buys 5 houses believing prices will rise forever. Banks lend money aggressively because every loan appears safe. After all, if prices continue climbing, what could possibly go wrong? That question becomes the most expensive question in modern financial history. Because underneath the excitement, cracks are spreading. Borrowers with weak finances receive loans. Complex financial products hide risk. Warning signs multiply. But profits are enormous. And profits have a way of silencing concerns. Some analysts begin raising alarms. Some economists grow nervous. A handful of insiders see danger approaching. Yet their warnings are drowned out by celebration. Nobody wants to hear bad news during a boom. Nobody wants the party to end. But the real problem is just beginning. Then comes the moment nobody expects. Housing prices stop rising. Just stop. Not collapse, not crash, simply stop. At first, it seems harmless, a temporary pause, a small correction, nothing serious. But underneath the surface, panic begins spreading, because the entire machine depends on one assumption. Prices must keep going up. Once that assumption breaks, everything changes. Borrowers struggle, defaults increase, investors grow nervous, banks start questioning assets they once considered safe. The confidence that took decades to build begins cracking. And confidence is much easier to lose than to create. Then comes the avalanche. Housing prices fall. Investments lose value. Debt becomes toxic. Financial institutions discover that assets worth billions may be worth far less. Nobody knows who is exposed. Nobody knows who is safe. Fear spreads through markets like wildfire. Trust vanishes. And when trust disappears, banking becomes dangerous. People begin asking questions. Simple questions. Is my money safe? Can my bank survive? Should I withdraw my savings? Questions like these can destroy even healthy institutions. Because banking has one weakness that never disappears. No bank can survive if everyone demands their money back at the same time. Not because the money is gone, but because it is tied up in loans, investments, and obligations. The system depends on normal behavior. The moment panic replaces normal behavior, everything changes. Then it happens. Crowds gather outside banks. Long lines stretch around buildings. Customers demand cash. Television cameras arrive. Fear becomes visible. People watch neighbors withdrawing savings and decide to do the same. A rumor becomes reality. A concern becomes a crisis. And suddenly, institutions that seemed invincible appear vulnerable. What happened next shocked the world. Major financial institutions begin collapsing. Some disappear completely. Others survive only through emergency intervention. Governments scramble to respond. Central banks flood markets with liquidity. Politicians face impossible decisions. Investors watch fortunes evaporate. Families lose homes. Retirements disappear. Businesses fail. Millions of people pay the price for risks they never knew existed. The crisis spreads across continents. One country's problem becomes everyone's problem. Financial markets freeze. Credit dries up. Economic activity slows. Fear dominates headlines. The world witnesses a painful lesson. Banks are deeply interconnected. When one falls, others feel the impact. Like dominoes standing side by side, weakness travels through the system faster than anyone expects. For a moment, it feels as though the entire financial structure might unravel. People begin questioning everything: the experts, the regulators, the executives, the system itself. How could so many intelligent people miss the danger? How could institutions managing trillions of dollars make such catastrophic mistakes? The answers are uncomfortable. Because the crisis was not caused by one villain, not one bad decision, not one reckless executive. It was the result of human nature: greed, overconfidence, short term thinking, the belief that tomorrow will always resemble yesterday. The same forces that have shaped financial history for centuries, and they remain just as powerful today. Eventually, the panic subsides, markets stabilize, governments introduce reforms, banks strengthen reserves, new regulations emerge, the economy slowly recovers, life moves forward. But scars remain. Entire generations become more cautious. Investors become more skeptical. Regulators become more watchful. The financial world changes, at least for a while. Because memory fades, success returns, confidence rebuilds, new opportunities appear, and with opportunity comes risk. The cycle begins again. Not necessarily in the same form, not necessarily with housing, not necessarily with the same institutions, but the underlying pattern remains remarkably familiar. Periods of fear create caution. Periods of caution create stability. Periods of stability create confidence. And periods of confidence create risk. The cycle repeats because human behavior repeats. That may be the most important lesson of all. Banks are often portrayed as giant machines powered by money. But money is only part of the story. The real engine is psychology, trust, fear, confidence, greed. These invisible forces move markets, influence decisions, and determine the fate of institutions worth billions. A bank can have magnificent headquarters, sophisticated technology, and armies of experts. Yet, if confidence disappears, none of those things may matter. Because banking has always been built on something surprisingly fragile: belief. The belief that promises will be honored. The belief that money will be available tomorrow. The belief that the system will continue functioning. When that belief exists, economies flourish. When it disappears, chaos follows. And perhaps that's the greatest irony in all of finance. The buildings look strong, the vaults look secure, the numbers look precise. But underneath it all lies something invisible: trust. A force powerful enough to build empires, fragile enough to trigger collapse, and valuable enough that the entire modern economy depends on it every single day. Because in the end, the story of banking is not really about money, it's about human nature. And history has shown again and again that fortunes are rarely destroyed by a lack of intelligence. They are destroyed when confidence becomes certainty, when success becomes arrogance, and when people forget that every financial system, no matter how powerful, rests on a foundation that cannot be locked inside a vault: trust.